Many South Africans will be concerned by the president's admission that Eskom is in deep crisis. President Cyril Ramaphosa has conceded that it's proving difficult to deal with the rot at the power utility, and that's not the only problem on his plate. With all these crises to deal with, how has the president's brand been holding up? Well, the man who can shed light on this is brand analyst and specialist Makhosini Nkosi. Thank you so much, as always, for coming through and talking to me, Makhosini. Let's start with the last 48 hours, where basically one of the dominant stories around brand Ramaphosa was a question of whether or not he really can be trusted in as far as his track record in the struggle is concerned. And that's thanks to Cope's Musiwalikota, who made those allegations about how he says, the president back in 1974 wrote to the special branch and basically ended up getting preferential treatment, being sent home when his fellow activists were sent to Robben Island. An accusation that you collaborated in any way with the apartheid regime can be quite damaging for someone who punts struggle credentials.
In my view, yesterday was the worst day in the office for President Cyril Ramaphosa politically, because what Musiwalikota threw out there is something that lingers on. You can come with a perfect rebuttal and actually kill the allegations, but not everybody who heard what was said yesterday heard what was said today. Even if they heard it, they may not believe it. So you'll find that those who did not trust Ramaphosa, that did not like him, they don't like him more, they don't trust him more, and those that liked him continue to like him. But the majority of South Africans are wondering, why is this even an issue? What transpired or did not transpire in 1974, when we have real problems today. There's chock-a-block traffic, traffic lights are not working, there's load shedding, people are not employed. For Cope to think that the national discussion should be about what Cyril Ramaphosa did or did not do in 1974 is quite regrettable in my view.
All right, so let's talk about the current problems, because, he is a man who is at the helm of a state that is besieged, really, in as far as the problems are concerned. The president, you say yesterday was one of the worst days for him politically.
Probably the worst, yes.
Probably the worst. But in the last week also, we've seen some really difficult questions being asked of him. That whole comment about, I was surprised, I'm not sure if that's the exact word
shocked
that he used. Shocked,
angry.
yes. Shocked, and I'm quite angry about it. A lot of people reacted to that, and the suggestion was he seems to be out of touch.
I think he felt let down. I think he felt disappointed. The lot that are at Eskom today were brought in by him. You must remember that there was a change of the board sometime, I think, December, January, and, many people were actually critical that you're removing all the institutional knowledge and all the people who know actually about generation of electricity, and you're bringing in people who are known to turn around companies, who are financiers and all that, but who don't have any knowledge. I think what is happening, to be honest with you, Tulasizo, is the mistake that the president made, or that the ANC made, or whoever constituted the board and appointed the people that were appointed at Eskom. That is a mistake that they've created, and I think I can understand when he says he's disappointed and he's angry because he feels let down.
But he's also not helping his own case, though, Makhosini. Let me suggest to you then, when he then announces steps on Eskom that sort of have a political angle to them and implications, without having gone through the criteria in as far as consulting, basically using the state as opposed to using the political processes first before making the announcement in the state. As you saw now, this now became the main issue of a march that had been planned well in advance, but it then took on that turn and became about Eskom and how the unions were not consulted.
If I had been somebody to write the president's speech, I would have said, look back at the 5 years of this administration, what you have achieved and what you haven't achieved, instead of being forward-looking, talking about the things that you are yet to do. And he spoke about things that clearly he hasn't consulted the ANC thoroughly about. Now, the ANC members and leaders can take him on the unbundling of Eskom, but they would be shy to take him on the issue of the new directorate that's going to be located in the NPA, the so-called Scorpion's Light, because that really is what is at the issue of the attacks that are starting now and that are going to continue against him. if he continues, if he soldiers on with this directorate, because this directorate will essentially be looking at corrupt politicians, corrupt civil servants, and corrupt policemen. And the people who sit behind him, as Steenhuisen said, some of them are people who would be worried about what he's trying to do. In fact, in other areas like KZN, there is already talk amongst ANC structures that he is setting up this directorate so that he can imprison the former President Jacob Zuma.
So President Ramaphosa has been selling us this idea of a new dawn and basically saying, you know, let's all work together, let's rally together, Tumamina, etc. Yes. But in the last few weeks, you've sort of heard the counter-argument that says you were there. I guess it's summed up in those words. You were there all along when the damage was being done, and now you are telling us that there's a new dawn. How powerful is that rebuttal of the president's message politically?
The New Dawn story was always going to be really to overpromise when you cannot deliver on that promise. Because when you talk about a new dawn, you're talking about, I understand that things are done differently. There's going to be new people. You remove the old people that are accused, that are tainted. You start with new people. So I think in terms of his own positioning, he overpromised and now he's under-delivering. But also, I think, which is also more critical in my view, and I'm saying this as a political consultant, I think President Ramaphosa had a choice. He could either have gone the Donald Trump route, that is, I take over the party, I change it, I make it whatever I want it to be. If you want to be a member of the party, you come to me, I'm taking that party in a different direction. But the choice that President Ramaphosa made was that he was going to work with the ANC leadership collective, and that leadership collective is so desperate in how they see things. His approach to matters of corruption is not shared by other people who sit with him in the same top six, for example. So I think it's going to be very difficult for him to bring about the changes that he wants to bring if he wants to take the ANC leadership with him. He could have gone the route of mobilizing the support base of the ANC and derive his power from the support base of the ANC. It is the support base of the ANC that chooses the government anyway.
All right, Makhosini, I wanted to ask you about what's happening between the president and Julius Malema, but I'm completely out of time, so I guess we'll leave that one for another day. Thank you so much for coming through there. That is a brand specialist and communications expert, Makhosini Nkosi.